right, good morning.
Morning.
All right.
Good morning.
A couple things, a couple new guys, obviously. Some of you may or may not know Cameron. He basically had worked here before, and then last few years he's worked for another plumbing company, but he's coming back and going to start working with us. Joe Weed, he's a plumber for a lot of years. Took a little bit of a break, but kind of in the middle of that. Worked for the government doing translation in Afghanistan for the Marines and the Army, right?
Yeah.
So, but he's been doing plumbing for, I think, about 20 years total, right?
On and off. Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyways, we got two new plumbers. Basically, my thought process behind what I still have another HVAC guy that I'll eventually bring aboard once we start getting just prior, and within maybe 2 more weeks, because we're going to start getting busy for HVAC. We'll need them. But the plumbing stuff as well will also be picking up pretty soon too. So I want to make sure we have some guys trained and ready to go, get them in trucks so we can handle that side of the business, which right now is busier than HVAC anyway. So, make sure you guys, welcome them and so on. And there's Kevin. Kevin's the owner.
Yeah.
So you guys look like twins, man.
So Cameron and Joey, obviously, like I said, they're going to be our new plumbers in training, and we'll get them in trucks as soon as they're ready to go in, and we feel comfortable. Kevin feels comfortable with them on their own, learning our system, which has changed since you've been here, Cameron. So it's going to be new for you, and Joey, it's going to be completely new for you. All right, and there's Jesse. That means Mike's on his way here as well.
Come over here.
Okay, so you guys, I just introduced Cameron and Joey, new plumbers. They're going to be joining the team. You guys can say hi to them afterwards and maybe learn a little bit about them. A couple of things, not a lot going on this morning for the meeting. I'll probably have more on Wednesday, but there's some things that are happening that really affect us, both profit-wise, reputation-wise, that I needed to kind of bring out and throw out to everybody. One of them is when we go out to a customer's house and we're giving an estimate, we kind of have a process where when you give an estimate, there should be more than just one, correct? Everyone agree with that? Try to give good, better, best at all times. And why do we do that? Let me ask the question. Why? Anybody other than Kevin? Because he knows the answer.
People tend to pick the middle option. They like having their options available. They don't want to do the least, but a lot of times their pocketbook may not let them do the best.
Okay. That's part of the answer. Anybody else?
Give customer options so they can pick what works for them.
Okay, that's still part of it. Nobody else?
Basically something for you to explain what's better and what's not.
Okay.
Give them more of the value.
Value is a big part of it. So when we're creating value, usually when we have an estimate, we start off with the basic fix. All right, then we're going to go to the next thing in the middle, which adds a few other things to it, but we want to be able to show value to that second option over the first option, right? Because we're not only doing more, it's not really that much more money normally. It's somewhere in the middle. And then we're going to get to the Cadillac of it, and we're going to fix it up, do everything. And you're right, most people choose the middle. Doesn't mean that there's, that 1% that's going to say, hey, I'm going to jump to the top every time, right? So you got to give options for a number of reasons, but you also want to make sure that you're creating value throughout your process, throughout your sales process. And I'm telling you this because I'm going to ask you the question in a minute when we get to the end of this here, if I'm creating value or not. So here's the scenario. I go into a customer's home and they have a real high-end shower valve. Shower valve is probably, when it got purchased, $3,000. Okay, something that you don't normally see on a everyday type of thing. It's not a Moen or a American Standard or Delta. It's nothing like that. So you go in there and you say, okay, I don't have hot water. Something's wrong. So you start investigating. You do your due diligence and you start looking. If you give them one option, which is to repair it, I'm going to take the cartridge out. Which, by the way, I don't know where I'm going to get this cartridge, how much it is. So you take the time and you look it up. And now you say, gosh, that the parts that I have to replace on here Maybe there's a tempering valve, there's a couple of other different things you have to do. It's gonna be $300-400, our cost, okay? So now you can do your bid calculator, you can do all of that, and you go give the customer that price. So, based on the bid calculator, and I'm not saying it was used, but based on the numbers, how long it's gonna take me to take it out, put it in, you put all the numbers in, you come up with a price. And let's just say, for argument's sake, it's $1,700, okay? We're not changing out the shower valve, we're just changing out the cartridge in a valve, okay? Some integral stops. So by the time you get all the parts figured out, that's what it is. So, no other options. I give no other options to the customer. How much does it cost if I wanted to change out a shower valve to a different type of shower valve? Let's say a Moen Positemp with a high-end finish. What would that cost? Some of you guys have to know.
About 1,500.
Okay, $1,500. That's that might be a good price, because the $1,200 is probably pretty standard for a standard chrome shower valve, but you can add a couple $100 for some higher end trim, right? Okay, so if we don't even give that option, you know, we're not really creating any value there, because the customer is saying, all you're doing is fixing my shower, and you're going to charge me $1,700. So then what happens is, we kind of get, you know, this technician might go out there and say, oh my gosh, you know, she's really complaining about the price, she says it's really high. And then I wait a day, and I try to follow back up, and then I just say, well, I can do it for $1,100. What did we just do?
Made yourself look like an idiot.
I mean, how can it go from $1,700 to $1,100 doing the same job, ever? So either, and I don't even know I don't have all the details yet. Maybe he found out prices were less, or you know, something else. But the bottom line is, you don't ever go into a customer and start off up here and have no reason to go down to here, because you look dumb. I mean, like, were you trying to rip them off in the first place? I mean, it's like going in and getting your car fixed, and they say, hey, it's $2,500. Oh, you know what? No, I'll do it for $15. It's the same job. Why was you going to charge me $2,500 before? And now you're not going to do anything different. No other parts. No less parts. Nothing. You're just going to take $1,000 off. Something's kind of makes you look fishy there, right? Maybe like we're trying to rip you off, or we were trying to rip you off, and now we're kind of backpedaling or something. So you got to be really careful. Number one, give more options, so let them choose, but show value in it. And don't ever try to rip a customer off, or even give that perception by discounting so much that it looks like you were trying to rip them off in the beginning. That's kind of my point here. And that has happened. I mean, I have a customer, you know, they'll call and they'll say, well, why would they trying to charge so much in the beginning? And I don't have an answer for them. You know, well, you know, so I talked to the tech, like, oh, the parts are $400, Okay, well, let's do the numbers. How long was it going to take you to do? You know, and do all of that. But if the customer's perception is we're trying to rip them off, that's their reality. And we may not ever see that customer again. And now what happens if they're a senior? 80 years old. I mean, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're not going to get any other jobs from this customer. Now, this customer also was somebody who we had already done a HVAC job estimate for. So, now, do you think we're going to get that either? Because if one person on our team is making them look like we're ripping them off, and we may not have been. I mean, we may not have been, but what made it look like it is, I'll take $1,100 instead of what really should have been $1,700, or maybe it should have been $15, whatever it is. But you still don't discount from 17 to 11 just for no reason. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to throw out at you guys, because it makes us look really dumb. Our reputation can be hurt. You know, how many friends does that person have? Are they going to tell, oh, don't ever use them again? Don't ever use them. Especially when we're in one of those communities where we're out there trying to get more business. You know? So I'm going to throw that at you guys, number one. And then number two, I'm noticing in Service Titan, follow-ups. They're just not happening. And what I mean by follow-ups, it's not just estimates. It's have to order a louver, have to do this, have to do that. I have to go through notes to figure it out, but nobody follows up. It's just, I got about 50 jobs sitting up there that we've gone to that aren't closed out. So I will be contacting some of you today, finding out why, what the next step is. So we need to come up with a system to follow up. And I thought that I was pretty clear before, but I want to make sure I'm a little more clear. So if you have a job to follow up, so let's say, Nick, you have a job, it's a special part you're waiting to get, to come in or whatever the case is. If you know it's going to be 3 to 5 days, we can still complete the job, meaning we can basically still close the job out, but then what you do is you just tell dispatch, I need you to put me a reminder on whatever date, 5 days from now. That's when the part should be coming in to follow up. So they can put it in the follow-up column up on top right now is what we're using. Put that customer in there. Basically, it's like, you can call it an estimate or you can call it whatever it is. But if it's the same job, we don't want to close it out. If it's a job that we have to complete because we're missing a part, then we don't close it out. We just reschedule for 5 days. 5 days out. But if it's something that they want an estimate on something in a few days and you don't know what the parts are costing or whatever, just reschedule it for a couple of days, but reschedule the estimate. But then we need to figure out if it's, when we get to that 3 days and it's an estimate that once we sent it out, we email it to them because we have everything that we need to get it out to them, then it needs to be closed out. So for an example, let's say, okay, so Mike sends out an estimate, or wants to do an estimate. Customer says, well, I want an estimate on this too. Okay, let me get back to you in a couple of days. I got to check all the pricing and parts and whatever it's going to take to do the job. So that second estimate, if it's on the same ticket, just reschedule for a couple of days until you get it out, and then put in the notes, reminder, getting estimate on whatever the unit is you're trying to get an estimate on. Put it on that day. And then when you get to that day, you send it out. Now, you can still reschedule one more time tomorrow to follow up on the estimate. I called the customer today, she didn't answer, he didn't answer. I emailed them the estimate already, but I want to follow up tomorrow. You can schedule for one more day. So I'm trying to give you some leeway on that, but there should be notes in there. I'm going to follow up with the customer, I'm going to call the customer, whatever it is. So when that day comes up on the board and we see you on there, we know that's all it is a follow-up. You can make a call. What time do you make the call? I'm going to make it at 3 o'clock. Okay, well, schedule me at 3 o'clock for that call. So when it comes up, Omar or David can say, hey, you're supposed to call this customer at 3 o'clock today to follow up. And now, if they decide, yes, they do it, great, we book it. If not, close it out. If they're not getting back to you after a couple of days or 2 or 3 times of attempting to do it, and you've done everything you can to get a hold of them after rescheduling a couple of times, we need to close it out. I don't want it to sit in there. We have stuff from December just sitting there. And some of them have notes in it, some of them don't even have notes. I don't know what the heck they are. They're just there. So I will be calling you to find out those things, but going forward, we have to follow up on everything, guys. We can't afford to lose one potential job. Some of them are potential jobs, I think. Some of them are just things that we have to finish up with customers. Because how does their reputation go if someone has to call us back 2 months later and say, where's my louver? Not very good. Because we're waiting for them to call us back. And now they recognize, oh, I don't have the part that they said they were going to give me 2 months ago. And it doesn't make us look good at all. Okay? So we need to make sure we're following up on all of our own stuff. If you guys have to have notes, keep a notepad or whatever, cross it out when it's done. If not, just keep adding to your next list or whatever. That's up to you, whatever works for you. But you can use Service Titan to help you by rescheduling that and just put the notes in there. So anybody can look at it and say, okay, Nick's doing this, Mike's doing this, whatever the case is, right? That's how we have to do it going forward. Make sense? Anybody have any questions? No? Have a good trip?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. You have anything else you want to add?
Just on the estimates, some of you might remember Uncle Joe Cristera. We had some training from him, and he he was really into multiple options. He would actually have 7 options,
Yes.
which I thought was way too much, because I
6
think,
or 7?
I thought it was 7, yeah. Anyway, and we kind of fell away from working with them. And the reason being is, you know, I thought giving options is a great idea, but giving that many can confuse the customer. So there's always the risk that you're gonna confuse the customer, but what happens is, well, you have to look at the way you put these proposals together, and they have to be very clear and concise, and they have to be comparative. Without looking through with intensity, the customer should be able to simply see, this one has this benefit, this one has that benefit, et cetera, and here's the difference in price. And so there should be very little conversation afterwards, after you make this presentation, because they can obviously see that. If you present them with confused estimates, the confused mind will say no, almost 99% of the time. So it's, and the way you phrase these options is the simple repair I put as a Band-Aid option. And the reason I make that least repair the Band-Aid option is because customers don't want a Band-Aid shit, okay? They just don't. They want things fixed right. So if you're replacing an angle stop and there's 20 of them that need to be done, replacing that angle stop is a Band-Aid option, right? It takes care of that problem, doesn't take care of the other 19, right? So these are the types of options that we have to offer the customer, so that they can see that, hey, yeah, I got 20 more of these, 19 more of these, whatever, you know, because if you don't, and point it out concisely, and also you can present to them too, when you do multiples, it's less, et cetera, because we do have discounts for multiples. And whenever you do a discount, I have to get manager's approval. Don't just throw a number out there and say, oh, I can do it for this. Just because you have to create that value, and every time you create value, there has to be a reason. There's nothing wrong with giving people discounts. But let me see if I can authorize that in management. It's kind of hard for me to do, because I'm the owner and a lot of people know that, but one of the things that I do is I'll ask, do you have any family members that are military? You know, now we're giving them a veterans discount, right? Or, you know, maybe a senior's discount. Let me see if I can get you a senior's discount, et cetera, et cetera. But don't just throw it away, you know, just because it has no value, and then they're gonna think that, hey, there's something wrong with the pricing to begin with. So they're very critical that you do present that properly. So call us if you need some assistance with that. Not only that, when presenting pricing, you should be calling in your lead too. If you know, if you're quoting prices on repairs and things like that, you know, your channel leader should be consulted. And don't think that I'm just the manager or Alan's the manager. You know, you can call Christian, and he's the newest guy here as apprentice, and you could get his authority. It just has to, you know, kind of give that feel to the customer, like, hey, I'm not ripping you off. So
We have a system.
we have a system, yeah. We got to ask somebody for permission, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying to call Christian every time, but what I am. It's kind of
Speed down number one.
He's just in a rubber
The look on his face when he said that, he's like,
It's just an exaggeration to point out that, you know, if Alan or I are not available, you have other options available to you. So, okay?
Yep, you guys have John as well, so, you know, that's for either side. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I got hit Friday, well, me and Renars got hit Friday afternoon with an interesting call. They got on our website and it said $1,600 rebate. And so this guy's now hammering me, well, you know, how do we get, you know, are you giving us a rebate? And I didn't know if it was a manufacturer's rebate. I didn't look at the website, I guess, close enough. It was at the bottom. Is that something that we entertain, Kevin? Is $1,600 rebates?
It could have been an old rebate through, you know,
Manufacturer's rebate.
okay, yeah, that could have been an old rebate.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where we're talking about in the website, but when you guys do see that stuff, let management know, because it could be something old
Yeah, I
that
think
somebody put up there. I had no idea there was any kind of rebate
Yeah.
offered for
we saw-
1,600.
Bernard and I saw that.
No.
And the customer just immediately started hitting us on the rebate issue, you know, and I said, we'll have to look into it, like you said, you know, you need to check with.
Well, typically rebates come from high efficiency equipment anyway.
Yeah.
And so there are rebates, they're seasonal. You know, there should be, if we do have them up there, there should be some, you know, disclaimers with that, because no rebate just sticks around forever. You know, it's just like anything else.
Yeah. He was interpreting it kinda like we were just gonna take $1,600 off the top of the price, you know?
That's not what a rebate is.
Yeah,
That's usually how they want to
And,
interpret it.
yeah, that's how they interpreted it, I know.
The customer's gotta jump through the hoops to get the
Exactly.
rebate.
And then also, we were hit on the same call about the HERO program, which is a government-funded grant that,
Well, it's not a government funded, but
It's not a
It's
grant.
it's not a grant either.
Okay.
There's no, grant is free money. It's not a grant. It's,
You pay it back like a credit card.
it's a loan.
Yeah, it's basically a
That's
loan.
not
What they
the
do,
customer house.
for you guys who don't know how the
Actual
PACE
mortgage.
program works, I'll give you a brief explanation. The PACE program, basically what they do is they give you a loan and they tie your house
Yep.
to it. So they basically put a lien on your house and you have to pay it back over a certain amount of time, and there is a certain amount of interest. It depends on what program you go on because they have several. And they're supposed to be energy efficient type of services that PACE finances.
Right.
So there's Y Green does it, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 of them out there now that do that same type of thing. But what the customers don't understand a lot of times is when you're on that program and you have a lien on your property, it can be transferred over to the new homeowner if you were to sell your house. Can be. However, a lot of mortgage companies won't let it. So that's something that they won't tell you a lot of times. So it can be not a good program if somebody plans on selling their home in the next 5 years, 10 years. Then it's not, you know, then they're gonna have to come up with that money when they sell their house to pay it off before they sell their house, or as part of the process. So you can do solar with it, you know, tankless water heaters, for an example, anything that's high efficient, water heaters, HVAC units and furnaces, all of those types of things can be done. Even water fixtures can be done. If you're gonna change out shower valves and you're gonna go to, you know, a better shower valve that's gonna save you water, shower heads, you know, that you're using less water, toilets, less water. They have real old toilets. All of those things can be used in the PACE program. You just have to be really careful that you understand the program. And we do have reps that can explain that to the customer much, much better. If we start using that program more often, I know we haven't used it since I've been here that I know of at all. But if we do use it, you have to be really careful that you don't say something to a client or to a customer that isn't correct. So there would be a lot of training necessary before you did that. So it's not a bad program for those who plan on being there for forever, because you know they're going to be paying in their taxes every, and it depends on when you finance it. So if you come in and you do it like now, they may not even have their first payment until next year because they wait. But there's interest on the money from this year that's going to be added on the next year. So they have a way of, they're going to get their money. But it does benefit some people, especially if they plan on being there for a long time. But if you plan on selling your house, it's not a good idea.
yeah, these people called in to dispatch and basically told our dispatcher, you know, you guys offer this program, because if you don't, I don't wanna waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
So we got out there and he immediately hit me and Renar up on the $1,600 rebate. Then he went into the HERO program. And so, you know, I didn't know jack about the HERO program.
Well,
So I told him that we had to get back with him.
Yeah, I got my login now and my HERO program. We had those meetings and trainings before, but I didn't have my login because there is something this identity was for my profile. So now one weekend I did it and we can actually return to him and.
Yeah, okay,
process
good.
that one.
So, it was just one of those calls that, got kind of blindsided on that part of it. But he was appreciative that we were gonna get back with him and, try to go through that, so.
I thought Hero was like done around.
A lot of times, what?
I thought Hero was done.
No, here's not done.
Hero's not done, but I don't
No,
think.
It's,
a lot
it's,
of our
okay,
way
so,
up.
so what happened was this program got a lot of abuse.
Alright.
And the government clamped down on it. There was
Right.
significant abuse taking place.
Huh.
And what I mean by that is, $100,000 worth of services were
Right.
provided in a home that, was worth 300,000 or something like that. I mean, it was really, really bad. The way it was presented to these people and everything else, it was shady. So what happened was a lot of people clamped down on that, and, because there were multiple lawsuits. And so these guys are running at a fraction of what they were doing before because of all the new rules. And for the most part, people aren't using them that much anymore. But to Alan's point, if you don't have any other means or methods of paying for something, and you can amortize your furnace out 20 years and have a $60 payment, that might work for some other people,
Yeah.
So, there may or may not be some tax advantages to that. You have to see your accountant on that. But at the same time, if you come into a Hero situation, we have reps. You can call those reps and they will call your customer and sell that over the phone for you. That's what they do. Zach is our rep for Hero. Zach used to be our salesman here, one of our salesmen here on the HVAC side. He's actually a very good salesman. I'll be surprised if he's still in Hero at this point in time. He might be. I haven't talked to him in a few months. Last time I used him, he was in Hero, and he helped the whole process go through, because there's been a lot of rule changes. So you can't tell people anymore that you don't have to qualify, because guess what, they do. That was one of the things, people didn't have to qualify for those. It was just, I got a job, I'm breathing.
Yeah.
That's literally what it took.
And
Well, it used to be just based on the value of their home. If they had, as long as
You and
they,
your home.
as long as they didn't have, in the past, as long as you don't have any bankruptcy and you had all your mortgage payments caught up on time and you have value in your home, that was it. That's all you needed to know. That's how it
not
was.
the case anymore.
Not anymore. They check your credit. They make sure a lot of things are done now that they didn't used to do. But it is an option for those people who don't have any other way of financing it. If they have, not the greatest credit, but they have a lot of equity, they do have a good job, and they meet all the other criteria, which I don't know what that criteria is anymore because it's changed, because I haven't used them in a few years, but we used to use Y-Green and Hero quite a bit. I mean, we did a lot of work for them. But again, like Kevin said, they changed the rules, and then we didn't realize when the program first came out how it affected people who were eventually going to sell their home in 5, 6, 7 years. So as we started getting closer to that time, and some people ended up doing it sooner than that, they say there's no prepayment penalty, but you're still paying interest. If you want to refinance your house, that's another thing that you wouldn't want to do the Hero program or Y-Green or any of those, because even though they say there's no prepayment, you're still paying all the interest on that time, and there is some fees that are kind of put on the front of that, so to speak. So you end up paying for something that you may not want to pay if you're going to refinance your house. It might be better to refinance your house and just include whatever you're going to do in that refinance, if you know what I mean. Because it gets expensive, so you don't want to always have a rep at this point involved if you guys plan on having to use that, and don't just try to do it yourself. Okay. Anybody else? Any questions, comments?
I think, doesn't the Hero program also, I know when Ryan and I were dealing with it, they have restrictions on what you're allowed to even put in, like a furnace only had to be a 90+ variable. It was
No,
changed.
there's
Is
a
it-
list actually.
Or was it a 82 stage was the minimum? I
It's
think?
all changed, everything's changed.
And
Yeah, I don't know what
it
the,
was
I don't know
a
what their
15
parameters are
share
anymore,
when we were
but
doing
it's,
it.
it's energy efficient and that's, you know.
At the time, it was-
Oh, you can do 14 series
Yeah,
again?
Yeah, you could do, but everything has changed, like I said, there's, if, whatever you remember, forget it. Because
I just wasn't
none
sure
of
if
it's,
some of that
none
was
of it's
still.
the same anymore.
Okay.
So you really need to contact, ask the questions directly to your rep instead of calling us, because they're really gonna be the people who have the information. We'll get those numbers off to you, Y Green and Hero.
Yeah, I just remember tearing out furnaces that I put in a week before because Hero kicked it back and said, nope, not a 2-stage 80. We're not paying for it, put this one in. And it was our shop manager that decided to just put a different one in, not.
Yeah, we'll go by what their parameters, they'll tell us what we can put in.
Kevin,
I don't wanna be guessing.
regarding rebates, where is the best place to show something customer or customer just asking about rebates? They want to know something, so at least give some examples what we can offer with rebates. I know it's mostly high efficiency, but what should we tell customers about?
Well, it depends who, you know, each manufacturer has rebates being offered at times. They typically, rebates are offered through manufacturers when it's slow season. In other words, you know, March, April might be a time where AC Pro is gonna be offering rebates on the Maytag line. Okay, or.
That's through AC Pro website probably or something.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where you'll find, and they constantly change. So me providing you a list, and each manufacturer comes in at a different time as well. So you kinda gotta see if there's any rebates available. You can go online to see if there's any rebates through the utility companies, but I gotta tell you, Edison, and that's pretty much primarily who everybody has here, in South Orange County, most over 90% of the county, some of it's SDG&Es, so, but, anyway, their rebates are tied to, number one, you have to have a company that is approved to do the installs. And they have so many rules and regulations, there's like $700 worth of rebates. And all these rules and regulations cost a ton more than the $700. So, you know, yeah, there are those customers who really, really want that rebate, you know, but I went through the classes, I did everything I was supposed to do, 3 days worth of this stuff. And it was such a cumbersome thing to do, to perform at that level that, you know, we just said, screw it, it's I'll give you $700, just don't let me have to do this. I mean,
Please don't let me deal with this.
yeah, I mean, it was that bad. I mean, they really, I mean, geez Louise, you know, it's unbelievable. But anyway, so you constantly, I mean, there are rebates from the water companies, you guys, you know, you can look that up and it changes constantly. And they'll always have the caveat, until we run out of money. So, you know, those things they're there. If you're interested, water saving toilets, they might have them, but I doubt that they do anymore because it's standard in California, which is, we need to do a class on this, by the way. And because I have to do some learning on my own. In January of this year, there was a new rule that came down from the state of California that period, you cannot buy certain things cannot be sold in California. As an example, I went to buy a replacement aerator on a house that was probably 10 years old, 12 years old in Ladera Ranch. I could not purchase that aerator. They would not sell it to me because it was not water saving. Now, he's got about 6 or 7 of these faucets in his house and he needs new aerators, and they're kind of a custom aerator. And Kohler doesn't have an option. So I told the customer, I said, look, I'm not allowed to buy this. Literally, you gotta know somebody out of state, because nobody will ship to California, okay? So you gotta have somebody out of state, which I'm doing this with a client right now in Huntington Beach. She lives in Idaho and she's purchasing certain equipment like shower heads from Kohler that you cannot purchase in California anymore because of their water usage. So, and the other thing, the other problem, there's a lot that I have to learn before I give this class to you guys. But another problem we're having is the new faucets, they don't turn on a tankless because they are so low flow. Yeah.
So
We're
you're
in
gonna put a
trouble.
buffer tank now?
No, nothing will fire that thing. And so, I mean, a buffer tank might help, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, things have changed. Let's just put it that way. And when you start, you know, going into, and it literally says on Kohler's website, you can look, not sold in California, not shipped to California. That's how crazy this new law is. Plus, when the house is up for sale, okay, they have to do a lot of these upgrades, these code upgrades that we talk about, the drip legs and stuff. You see those reports that we used to get for HVAC when a house is for sale, and they'd have a punch list, all these things they want done. Well, guess what? Now there's plumbing attached to that punch list. Oh, that's a 1.6 gallon toilet. You gotta have a 1.28. You can't sell this house.
They don't let you leave it because it's original?
No, they're making you change shit now.
Wow.
So it's gotten, I gotta find out what all the specific rules are so that we're not quoting stuff we shouldn't be quoting to homeowners. But look at it this way, you know, yeah, Big Brother sucks, but but you know, you can get upset and everything else, but I looked at it this way, I said, well, you know what? I'm so used to this because I've been doing it for so long in California that, you know, I just look at it, okay, how am I gonna make money from this new rule? I mean, that's basically it. This is an opportunity. That's the way I look at it. So it's gonna be an opportunity for us to educate the consumer and also let them know that, hey, you know, when you go to sell your house, you know, all this is gonna be impacted. And what I'm most concerned about is tanklesses that we've installed and are currently selling that might not work when they turn on the faucet. So.
The other thing too is that if like the lady from Idaho buys stuff and then installs it in California and it's not California code, then when the inspector comes out, if he has his shit together, he's gonna say, well, where the hell did you get that at? Well, we got it in Idaho. Sorry, you gotta take it out, you know. There's a lot of caveats.
That can happen. In this particular job, it's not getting inspected, but it's a bathroom remodel, but you know, normally inspectors aren't gonna come out and check your shower heads and stuff like that. But I'm just telling you, the state's getting real crazy about water, real crazy. I was thinking about this today, and I was in the gym, and I thought, maybe I should start showering at the gym. You know, getting ready there because I have a lot of water consumption. I have a pool, I have a pond, you know, I got a lot of lawn. Yeah.
You need to have more than 5 of the same tree so you can qualify as a farm.
Yeah. So
Kevin's
palm dates.
You know what? And guys, to Kevin's point, what I think I like, what I heard from him saying is that because of these code upgrades, if it's faucets or whatever, if there's something you can't get in California when we're trying to go and do a repair on someone's home, it's a prime opportunity to have one of those options as, hey, guess what? Based on today's codes, if you were to sell this house, I can't get this for you anymore. You know, we need to replace it with something like this, or this.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. You have to look at it that way. I mean, it sucks that we're in California when it comes to that kind of stuff because every little rule and change is going to be here first to save money, to save the environment, whatever the case is.
It works in our favor.
It's got to work in our favor. You got to make it, you know, let the customer, educate the customer a little bit on it and say, hey, this is what's happening in California. We have these rules before anybody else does to lower the water consumption and, you know, so this, I'm not going to be able to replace this, you know, faucet aerator anymore because they don't make it. I know I have a Kohler as well, and I had a hard time. Mine's not out yet, but the original one I think was 1.5 gallons per minute, and now it's like 1.2. That's the only one they sell for. They at least had an alternate, because I needed to replace one. And then they even had, I think, one 1 gallon per minute. I'm like, that's about what I have with the aerator in there that's not working right. So, and my daughter was complaining, oh, Dad, I don't have any hot water, because the aerator has junk in it, and I tried to clean it out and it didn't work. So I totally get that, but I tried to find the one that, for me, and it wasn't available anymore.
We can sell gym memberships now too.
Yeah.
So everyone can shower at the gym.
There you go. So, all right, so some things maybe to look forward to with Kevin's training, but that's all I have. Make sure you get your time cards in for those of you who have them. Appreciate it. We have rags that'll be coming tomorrow. We're getting them from Centos now, so we shouldn't be having any rag issues anymore. We're not gonna buy brand new ones. They're gonna launder them for us. There's right by the door here, going into the girls' office, there's a trash can to put all of your dirty rags in. Do not use sewer. If they get used in the sewer, they got to get thrown away. Obviously, if they have any kind of chemical, oils, or anything spills, they've got to get thrown away. Okay, they got to be disposed of properly. They can't be just put in there. But they'll wash any regular dirty, muddy. Using them for day-to-day stuff, no problem. Okay, so they're really cheap compared to what we're buying now, and they will launder them for us if need be, so that's kind of a good thing for us. They're like $8 for a stack of 50, so pretty cheap, okay? But that doesn't mean throw them away if you don't need to throw them away. I still like to save some money and just get them laundered, okay? Cool. All right, guys. Thanks. You two gentlemen, I'll do some paperwork.
I got ready forever.
I opened them.
Oh.
Had the sound.
We need to let them know.
Yeah, we still do that.
But we can just synchronize.
You.
Well, we can do.
By the way, nothing happened when I ate it.
But we just need to know what the rules are. I don't know what the rules are.
That big difference.
As long as we can process.
Huge though. I guess
the
that
whole
big difference.
Oh, yeah?
We
Good.
can process,
Looks like that.
we already check how.
Oh, okay, cool. It was actually really sick place. You want to make a big old pile of fresh. So,
I'll email him.
Yeah.
and say,
yeah.
I haven't been there since a little kid.
Oh yeah, they have they make their tortilla chips fresh. They sell
Basically,
the
we need
sauce,
to keep on top of, we need to go
cups.
there.
I bought that big ass burrito. I was dipping my burrito
Get
with
him on
guacamole, dude.
another meeting, so.
Let's go right now.
Not
Like
let
Tom
him
does
go
that
there,
too, my
because
bad.
if we let him go,
I don't know why.
start
But I'm home on
walk
Mexican
around
food.
with some other.
It's
a
struggle. Dude, their menu is actually really nice.
What was it?
Give him options and sign right
They
there.
have a pretty damn big menu for like the tortas and everything.
Really?
No, they got one kind of tortas. They got yeah, it looks like a hole in one place, but you can tell they've expanded the menu a little bit and they actually have a nice menu. But
Yeah.
it looks like a hole in one when you walk in. I opened the door and looked at back and I was like,
I'm gonna.
you can just tell when you open this. Like they make the fucking tortilla chips here.
Oh yeah. There was a place in La
Is there
Mirada
more
actually
here?
where they used to make some fucking bomb homemade. They used to make flour tortilla chips. That shit was bomb.
Oh yeah, I told Mike, I was like, this is how you know this place.
El Rancherito does that.
Okay.
Really?
El
Is that in La
Ranchito.
Mirada? La Mirada?
Yeah.
It might be it.
It's off basically Beach Imperial, El Ranchito.
Is it
There's,
close to the golf course?
yeah, it's right there.
That's it.
Dude, I told Mike, I was like, bro, this place is badass. I was like, they sell a stack of fucking tortillas here for like a fucking dollar.
Well, yeah, let me just get you on this paperwork book and then I'll be there.
Hey, fucking put it down, yeah, take a shit.
I don't think so. I don't think that's gonna work. Well, let me, okay, yeah, let me get this paperwork done, I'll be in there real quick.
Oh, that's
There you go.
right. Okay.
Like I don't got enough going on.
A what?
Dispatch.
No, it's like I kicked out of that because it was moved. This whole history thing's really throwing me the fuck off. Hank McMillan.
Oops. Hey, puto.
We're going to Maryland. I guess. We gotta redo some shit over there. We're gonna add some shit. They give us the right thing, dude. They give us the right top valve piece.
No way.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 3-way for a handheld. Come on.
Yeah, we gotta redo that, we got a few things. We got a few things.
Don't yell at me.
Just
What
stop
do you
talking.
need to get ready?
What?
What do you need to get ready?
I don't know, dude.